Wheels, Battle Force 5. Go! Hot Wheels, Battle Force 5. Drive together to survive. Fight, fight, fight in the battle zone. Gotta drive to survive. Never back down, never give in. It's time to drive. Battle Force 5. Hot Wheels, Battle Force 5. Hot Wheels, Battle Force 5.
Hey, welcome back, Mega Cucks.
Whoa, I like that energy.
No, that one doesn't really work for our fans, though, does it?
No, because they have significantly more sex than we do.
Our fans are all really hot and have lots of sex.
Well, there's a lot more. I mean, if we had to count instances, I think we'd be losing, which is good for us from a metrics perspective, but bad for our sex race.
For the sex race we're always running.
Oh no. This is the time where we all remember the shitty little toys that we all played with, and we are watching a show that really puts the car in cartoons. Sorry, I'm really failing right now. It's Hot Wheels Battle Force 5, and if that name alone doesn't carry your enthusiasm through this segment, I don't know what's going on with you, because it's an incredible name.
Fucking amped?
Amp it up. This is episode season 2, episode 13, Full Throttle. And don't worry, one of us will attempt to explain what we've gleaned about the show in general shortly, but I'm going to read this for you first. To prevent Krytus from locating Sage, Battle Force 5 enlist the aid of pro racer and 2005 Indianapolis 500 winner Dan Weldon in order to destroy the scanner that's being used to search the multiverse.
Could I get you to read the summary one more time?
Yeah,
really hit the DW?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got it. To prevent Krytus from locating Sage, Battle Force 5 enlist the aid of pro racer and 2005 Indianapolis 500 winner Dan Weldon in order to destroy the scanner that's being used to search the multiverse. Dan Weldon!
Now, surely they didn't actually get the real Indy 500 winner Dan Weldon to star in this episode, right?
Baby Dan Weldon. They did. They got the real guy.
Holy
really Dan.
shit.
Not the Dan Weldon.
In the flesh.
So this show, I think, actually suffers from something we've seen before, and I'm sure exists in a lot of toy lines that really had no business being a narrative cartoon that they've decided to do anyway.
Yeah,
sure.
Where the writing, in as much creative freedom as they have, pretty decent for what it is and for what they were working with, and it's couched in this incomprehensible narrative structure, plus a conceit that is not interesting, right?
No.
Right. Too many shitty characters that we don't care about.
Sure, that too.
But I'm glad that you said pretty decent, because here's the thing. I actually kind of really dug like the core of this show.
The dialogue when they had the room to play was fun.
But for me,
sometimes.
it's the central action sequence at the center of this episode. Actually a really cool concept visually. And
it did work.
I intend to spend a lot more time talking about that. But I actually dug
about the
a fair
1260?
amount of I dug a fair amount of the plotting, like the way that they sort of.
It's well plotted,
yes.
but it's having to again sort of play in a space that I'm not interested in.
Sure, no,
but
of course not.
but
No.
like I said, I agree. Where there was room for creativity shone through.
Yeah, those people clearly went on to do better stuff, I would hope.
I'm going to make an attempt here. So imagine here's the things that you don't care about. Blue alien, good. Maybe only one left. Maybe not. She
Unclear.
blue. Unclear. She blue. Red alien, bad. Is there more than one red alien? I don't know. We only saw one or two.
There's a lot of them.
There's
Yeah,
a
they
lot
drive
of them
cars.
technically. Though we saw a lot of cars. We did not see a lot of red alien models, but we saw several red alien. They're bad. They search multiverse for blue alien to kill blue alien.
And then sort of like Reboot, there's this sort of second world within. So I guess they say the multiverse, but they go to some sort of like Reboot like Nexus
They have
hub.
zones, I believe.
Yeah.
Much
And
like a
they have
spiral
to-
zone.
Yeah, and they have to compete in various race car challenges.
Fight the zone.
And also doing like pretty violent murder to the red alien cars.
Yeah.
They're very surprisingly violent race cars.
Please allow me to continue.
Yes.
Yep.
Blue alien on Earth. Blue alien meet Hot Wheels race car men and women from various cultures around Earth. No one else on Earth know about Blue Alien. Blue Alien's secret. Protect Blue Alien, protect the multiverse. We drive cars. We're Hot Wheels Battle Force 5.
Also, no one else on Earth seems to know about Battle Force 5, in the context at least that one would think that Battle Force 5 recruits out of elite race car drivers like
Yeah.
Indianapolis 500 winner Dan Weldon, but
Sure.
he is completely unawares of this ongoing battle for the fate of the galaxy, the multiverse.
The multiverse.
Be that many galaxies or two.
Who knows?
We've only seen two.
We've only seen two. All right. We're gonna have to not talk about characters specifically because I don't think any
No.
of us can tell them apart. There is a British one. There is a Russian one. They're both extremely bad caricatures.
Yes, but they made the smart choice of doing the horrible accent work with predominantly white countries. The Mexican
yes.
guy does not have a strong offensive accent, which I thought was a smart choice.
Yeah.
More than 5, though. Definitely more than 5 of this Battle Force.
Why are they Battle Force 5? Are they the fifth one? Where are the other 4? What's happening? They are.
It's at least 6.
There is a really great moment later on. I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but the only time the British guy or any of these accent characters really was enjoyable to me was
I like the little British moment. You can have that, just commenting that I thought it was fun as well.
it is fun. We'll basically just drop a clip of it, but the British guy and Dan Weldon try and out Commonwealth each other by talking about how close they are to the throne.
It's very funny. He's like,
Oh, yes, the paparazzi. I know what that's like, being 189th in line for the crown and all.
I got a good friend who's 188th in line. Kind of looks like you, but better looking, taller.
Yeah, but not faster.
I liked it. I got a chuckle.
Yeah. The show itself opens with the phrase "juice me,"
Juice me.
because they're playing some sort of Dan Weldon video game
Yes.
at this sort of weird outpost in the middle of the salt flats or something. I'm not exactly sure.
Next time, I play Dan Weldon.
In the context of this sort of like interdimensional race car driver show, it's very hard to follow where they're playing a video game in a different universe where they drive race cars.
Uh-huh.
And then you find out it's for fun and that they're not, but then they also race their cars for fun, but the video game's different. I'm sure they're just sort of Chekhovsing us a Dan Weldon.
Oh, of course. It's Chekhov's Dan
Chekhov's Weldon.
Yeah. And we didn't mention our main character's name is Vert Wheeler, right?
We did not mention that, no.
No, because his name is Vert Wheeler. And the weird thing is that they're playing Dan Weldon video games, right? And then something sort of streaks across their territory. And it's a
their
fast
test
car.
track.
Yeah, and everybody hops in their car to go like right after and see like what this fast car
No, they're
is
trying to
doing.
hunt and kill him. It was
Well,
sort of,
that's what I'm saying is that it goes across and like, wow, it couldn't get it. Next time, let's set the traps out. because it'll come back. And then they like try to basically dismantle this car that's just sort of passing through. These are the main characters, and this car is not disrupted. I mean, it's not
an army base. They don't do any battle on Earth. This is their like practice track.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
well, it's trespassing. You know, sufferable by death.
Yes, by their right as Americans, I guess.
I want to point out
your ground laws.
There's a line that I don't know why it made me laugh so much, but it was just so weird, where they're like,
Agura, is your trap set?
All 5 of them.
all 5?
It's not an impressive number.
We all know that Agura has 5 traps. That's her deal.
The fabled 5 traps of Agura. And he who can pass the 5 traps of Agura will surely be Dan Weldon.
Yeah, because they corner this car once they finally get to stop. All like, more than 5 of their battle force surrounds the car that will be the car of the fabled Dan Weldon, winner of the 2005 Indianapolis 500. And he's just like,
I'm working on a secret move, so I needed somewhere the press couldn't find me. Can't have them leaking it before I unleash it.
That is all great, all well and good. And they talk to him and they go to some sort of diner, some sort of 50s diner in the middle of the desert.
They feed him pie, and it seems like a plot point, and it's not.
No.
They do make a big deal about it, and there's even a callback.
Yeah.
And CG... He
even says, wow, this is great pie.
CG, like, key lime pie with green food coloring. Like, I have to assume that's what this is, because otherwise this is some sort of disgusting green pie with no other explanation. But regardless of whether it is a traditionally green pie or not, it does not look good in CG.
No,
it looks very unappetizing.
Now that's a good lead-in, though, because we spent a lot of time talking about how uggo Voltron is. This show, let's talk a little bit about the art style, because I think primarily it works. I think it works
most
pretty
of the moments
well.
I liked it.
It's 2009, so they've had some time to dial in what CGI looks like.
And it's a minor thing, right? Where maybe they, the writers didn't consider that a key lime pie was, and they wouldn't have known, was just going to look wretched, in their animation style. And that's a swing that they missed. But for the most part, I'm with you, Austin. I liked it.
Yeah.
There's something about the design of these characters. It's like everything's good. It moves well. They're expressive, blah, 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 blah. They've got annoying big hair, but it's 2009. But this whole cast seems like cereal mascots, or like a Cheetos commercial or something. Like it has that sort of.
I get that. Yeah,
it like corporate designed these characters, and obviously
nobody's too interesting looking.
Mm-hmm. Like you expect one of them to go, "Hey kids," like at any moment, but I don't know. And then there's Dan Weldon, who's just like sexy.
But even then, his design is not. I mean,
no,
he's not character actor Dan Weldon.
Yeah,
although it could be worse for a car driver as a guest star on an animation, for a voice acting gig. This isn't like a NFL player doing SNL or something. Like he does a decent job.
Mm-hmm. The heel turn that this episode takes, like 8 to 10 minutes in, is among the fastest I've ever seen. We're doing this pie scene, this scene where he goes, wow, this is great pie, and he's just very enamored of the pie. And within like 20 seconds, their blue alien friend is like, the red alien, bad, scanning, find me. And then they're all in cars in another universe.
Yep.
And it's a totally different show all of a sudden. The Dan Weldon farce is over.
They left Dan Weldon at the altar. with a slice of pie. Because they ran off. And now here's the part where, I really got into it. Because the center concept of this, that they kind of designed all the action sequences around, is this big satellite in this whatever zone, digital zone or fancy alien world, whatever alternate, not Earth place that they go to. There's this big satellite, but the satellite, in order to get to the satellite to destroy it, satellite bad, right?
Yeah.
Is a series of these rotating concentric rings, kind of like the tumblers on a lock or something, like constantly rotating.
It's like one of those mazes you play with your like a steel ball bearing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But there's only
like
one.
If they were all moving, if the walls were all moving.
Right. Like there's only one opening on each of these concentric rings. So in order to get, you have to sort of swerve into one of them and then get to the next one and to the next one, by going through these rings. And
although they didn't explain, I'm sorry, they didn't explain why they couldn't just go slower. Like I get why why these openings were very treacherous at the speed they're going. But until the very end, when there's like hostiles on those bogeys on their 6, I didn't understand why they couldn't just go slower.
Because they signed an oath, Rory, to never go slower than 60.
I live my life a quarter mile at a time. Although it does feel very Fast and Furious. Like it does sort of feel like, or like a Mission Impossible movie where there's sort of like this center core, like a heist or a stunt, or there's something that they have to do.
Well,
and
it
they
seems
have
easy to explain with a little bit of lip service, right? Like they need to keep centripetal force going or something.
Right. And the reason that this is so effective, so they end up having to like take their cars into, all right, here's the opening, we got to get in, and then they got to drive through, and then here's the next opening, we got to sort of get in at like Mach speed. And it's really effective because not only are they doing that visually, there's also like a top-down display showing these concentric rings and everything. And it just like, it's really visually easy to understand. And they base the whole like problem of the episode around doing this and getting through it. And they try several times. They do it once, and then they realize they need Dan Weldon in order to get that kind of speed and to have that kind of skill to get
Where are we
going
to find something that drives faster than the sky knife?
Oh,
they
this
all
was another
look at
thing
each other.
I didn't quite understand, which could be just a conceit of the show, where there's always some kind of race car puzzle that takes multiple tries. But I didn't understand what was happening, where like they get sort of kicked out of the game when they fail. And I like that they have to keep going back into this one puzzle and attempting it in different ways with different, different outcomes. Like that engaged me. I just didn't understand why they got multiple shots at going.
No, I think one time it was a simulation.
That's
so
true.
They
With
weren't
Dan
actually
Weldon,
doing
it was a simulation.
Yes,
but
with
at
Dan
least one
Weldon.
time they actually went in.
Right.
Yeah, they
and
went in and they couldn't, and somehow they didn't die, but they didn't win either.
Right. It's just sort of some kind of plot fuckery. There's also like when they do the final run, it's the two cars. It's Vert and and his hero Dan Weldon, because Vert is very excited to be hanging out with Dan Weldon, doing stuff with Dan Weldon.
It's a fun power dynamic too. Yeah, it's fun because it's a cameo, and as I just have to imagine children are not excited by Indianapolis 500 winner Dan Weldon.
No.
Maybe there's a demographic that is. But even if you're not familiar with the specific man, Dan Weldon, it's fun to see the hero of an intergalactic, multi-dimensional defense force just giddy about hanging out with a race car driver. Like, that's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Although I will say that this show, I think the show was Nelvana. I think this was Canada.
Yeah, it's a Canadian show.
And so maybe the sort of, I don't want to call him an athlete, but I guess the sort of sporting celebrities may be a little different outside of the U.S.,
Perhaps, but they do call him Indianapolis 500 winner, unless maybe in Canada they reference some sort of Forza event.
I mean, he's from Australia, New Zealand.
No, I thought
he was British.
I think he's British. I think he's actually British, but he doesn't sound very British. He sounds vaguely Australian, but who knows? I think I like the idea that like Canada might have their own like Calgary 500 or something, because I have to imagine Canada's Formula One racing scene is probably not big enough to justify just not piggybacking on ours.
No, there's too much ice on the roads,
Yes. When they now know they need Dan Weldon to succeed. And so they have to tell Dan the truth about their crazy defense force. And in the first line that comes out of his mouth is,
"Wow, I feel like a 24-cylinder engine just exploded in my head."
And I don't know. Is there a mandate that they have to make car jokes all the time? Because it just feels like a weight around their neck.
Because
you know what I mean?
Otherwise, why are you doing a Hot Wheels show, right? Like, because this has so little. I mean, Hot Wheels is nothing anyway, right? Again,
right.
It's not a narrative property. Ah, yes, the storied lore of Hot Wheels.
Well, it'd be like making a cartoon out of a Rubik's Cube.
Oh,
well, yeah. And like I said at the beginning, Andy, I strongly believe this show is handicapped by the premise and the IP that it's shackled to.
Yeah.
Well, this is already a spin-off of another Hot Wheels show.
Yeah, and clearly and ironically, clearly the fact that it's a Hot Wheels show is how they were probably able to afford, halfway decent writers.
Oh.
And Dan Weldon.
Yeah, I bet Dan Weldon has a Hot Wheels contract for the model.
Oh, yes.
And they're
Hot
like,
Wheels
hey,
shows.
Dan, we own you now. Come, please do our show.
You belong to Hot Wheels now.
Well, and something that we haven't really mentioned, right? Like, if there's a connection here to Hot Wheels, this concentric circles, race puzzle, I think is also kind of fun because what it essentially means is that these cars are going around in skinny curved tracks, which is what your Hot Wheels do.
Sure.
And
totally.
If you had Hot Wheels like I did and you had a bunch of things to make tracks with, like, yeah, it evokes the Hot Wheels energy, at least in this episode. I don't know if they succeed at doing that every week.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about it. Yeah, it does have the sort of vague feeling of an actual Hot Wheels track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that is until Act 3, I think. But this sorry, this is so funny. Dan Weldon has been working on this trick called the 1260 ricochet. That's what he was trying to practice when he was trespassing on their land. And they realize they need him to do the 1260 ricochet if he's going to be able to get in and destroy this satellite dish. And he doesn't think he can do it, and he fails in the simulation. And when him and Vert go in, they realize that they have to do it together, and they make their cars kiss. Like, I mean, it's like a magnetic lock or something, but they front to front kiss their cars, and then they make their cars spin around each other like the Beauty and the Beast dance, but with cars. You're just watching from overhead, and they're just spinning around each other. And I don't know, I liked it a lot, but it's very out there, I think.
It is, yeah. But again, they were going for problems that are visual, and it is fun to watch them be resolved visually. Instead of, and again, they having this central problem that we're all on board with what the problem is and what the obstacles are to solve it. Unlike Reboot, which was just constantly like, oh, there's a new problem. Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, no, this isn't the real problem. Oh, it's changed. Oh, it's just like this had a clear goal, and then it did fun stuff to resolve it. And that was made for a really satisfying episode. The thing though, when I actually break down what it would have been like for Dan Weldon to have been approached by these people who he does not know, he trespassed on their land. They tell him they're a member of some sort of secret organization, and they're going to have to strap a bomb to his car and make him drive in what is ostensibly a suicide mission to blow up a space satellite.
For the good of the multiverse.
Yes, for the good of the multiverse. If I were Dan Weldon, I would maybe just want like a secondary source on this information before I do it.
No, he's so game.
He's so on board. And yeah, in fact, they have a conversation later where Vert is saying that
when I was a kid, all I wanted to be was a race car driver.
When I was a kid, all I wanted to do was fight aliens.
Now's your chance.
That was my favorite line in the whole episode. It's
a fun line.
It's both kind of funny, and it shows like it's a little bit clever, and it says something about their characters, and it says something a little universal about like how everybody wanted to fight aliens.
The grass is always greener.
Yeah, and that angle too, right? Like it's I don't know, that's a very serviceable script line. It's very good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a. I mean, this is a little bit of an inference because they don't actually talk about it in terms of suicide missions. But when it's brought up to Dan Weldon, and they're like, there's a reasonable chance he won't come back from this, and he's like, sounds like if I don't do it, there's a very reasonable chance I definitely don't come back from it too. Like,
yeah, the multiverse is also
the multiverse is about to explode.
I live in the multiverse.
Yeah, I live here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they win. They do it.
Yeah,
they blow
win.
it up.
Yeah.
And the ending, I think
it's not a goofball gag. It kind of wrecked it for me a little bit. I mean,
it does.
It didn't wreck it, but it's cheap. And I mean, maybe for kids it worked. It's kind of a kid's laugh, but for what the show, I don't want to say could have been. We're still talking in degrees of mediocrity, but
yes,
I do have. I was pleased in the context of what I sat down to watch with what I saw. And the ending is just Vert gets to race Dan Weldon on there, but then Vert has his friends wreck Dan Weldon's car, so he doesn't race Dan Weldon.
To cheat. They decide to actually just cheat, and then he drives off.
It's worse. And it sounds bad, and I think it's worse if you have a little extra context of what they've been saying.
No, in synopsis, that's funny, but in
well, yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like he's an asshole, right?
Visually, it denies that race, right?
Well, it denies the race, and it sounds like he's an asshole. But he has said like Dan
Weldon
been
doesn't
like,
give a fuck.
No, hold on. Dan's been like, I got to live my dream today. I got to go fight aliens.
You're totally right.
And then Vert's like,
I'd like.
And
he's
like, why shouldn't you get to live your dream? And he's like, yes, I am going to live my dream. I'm going to get to cheat and win against Dan Weldon, who can't
in a
even
fake
compete.
Race. Living
the dream, baby.
I like the idea that he would do that. Like that's kind of funny, but visually, it's a bit of a wet fart, right? It just takes all the wind out of the sails of a nice moment.
Yeah,
I guess.
undercuts
for a tiny laugh.
Yeah, you almost wish it would be better to do like an 80s freeze frame ending of them like just fighting, of them racing and then who's
just
gonna win?
Just taking off, or right at the finish line, whichever,
something. I don't know, but to have him cheat, to have the end is just like, oh no, he straight up cheated and took the wheels off your car, and now he's just gonna drive by himself.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned the 80s freeze frame because I did kind of think that was, I don't want to say Dan Weldon put it in his writer that he can't lose a race to fictional characters, but it felt like a way to not have real life Indianapolis 500 winner Dan Weldon lose a race.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and also give your main character a little, get their beak wet a little bit.
Yeah. But I like the freeze frame choice better. I think that's a smarter way to end it.
Yeah. Well, shit. I mean, biggest surprise of the night was kind of enjoying Hot Wheels Ben Folds 5. Or Battle Force 5. Fused? The Fused is also being thrown in. Battle Force 5 Fused? I think that's the name of the season. I think that's right.
I didn't pick up on any sort of fused nonsense.
Yeah.
Oh shit! The Wikipedia article does say season 2 Fused 2010 to 2011.
Okay, so Hot Wheels Battle Force 5 Fused.
Definitive edition for Nintendo Switch.
HD.